Hey guys, what's going on? Andrew coming at you, and Sweden, Finland, and Turkey have found a way to settle their differences. We're going to talk about what Sweden is doing to be able to join NATO. Now Turkey has no more requests, and they will also let Sweden and Finland go further to joining NATO. So we're going to talk about what Sweden and Finland had to do. It's interesting because when it comes to countries choosing security, it's not a black and white issue where it's just going to be good and bad. A lot of times countries have to do things that are maybe not always going to be popular. So I was looking at some of what Sweden has to do. Now, it's great that Sweden and Finland get a chance to join NATO. I feel like from a security perspective, it's not necessarily great for the world, I guess, because I mean, it does add more tension to things, but I think that's 100% on Russia. I mean, Russia decided to invade Ukraine, and now they're just reaping what they sow. And I understand where Sweden's coming from because, Russia's not that far away. And I mean, Russia's right there for Finland. And these smaller countries have to think about their security. Finland and Sweden already had a defense treaty, but they're looking about what's happening and they want to give Russia no incentive to invade. Also, because Russia's so heavily invested in Ukraine, now is like a great time to join NATO because Russia doesn't really have any chance or time to retaliate. Sweden has always been kind of seen as a beacon around the world for neutrality and not being involved in any conflicts. And when you have to work with Erdogan, the leader of Turkey, who is, in my opinion, a dictator, there's no way you're going to be able to get through that without getting a little bit dirty. And so Finland and Sweden both lifted their arms deal against Turkey, which means that most likely Turkey will be able to purchase weapons from Sweden and Finland, which means that Sweden will be directly selling arms to Turkey. Sweden always tries to sell arms to countries that don't have a lot of shadiness. They sell a lot of weapons to Brazil. But every once in a while, Sweden tries to stay out of conflicts, but this will be one where it's hard to argue giving weapons to Turkey is a good thing. And this is the thing, the West has always been reluctant to give weapons to Turkey. Turkey is requesting F-16, so it's possible the U.S. as well is going to give F-16s with updated technology, but not F-35s. I thought that I was originally what Turkey was going to request was the F-35s. So that's the first thing. The Swedish government is going to condemn all Kurds, not all Kurds, sorry, but the Kurdish organizations in Turkey, the PKK, the PYD, and that's a whole other issue. The Kurd issue, it's just a complex issue. This is what I mean, because like, if you're a Turkish citizen, you might view the Kurds as not the Kurds, but the PKK as a terrorist organization. If you're somebody that lives there and you're Kurdish and you're trying to find a place where you can live, I feel bad for the Kurdish people because Kurds are like an ally to the West sometimes, and then as you can see, at the same time, they're not an ally when they're going up against Turkey, and for Turkey, it's an international security question. There's a conflict going on. So it'll be interesting to see because there's a lot of Kurds in Sweden. So I'm going to be interested to see how they feel about this. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of criticism there. But yes, the Kurdish people don't seem to be able to find a place to live at their own country, if you will, and will continue to be in conflict probably for many years. The current government in charge has been sympathetic to the PYD, at least, and other organizations, and has posted support. So now that's done, and they're publicly condemned. And then finally, the one that I probably feel the most bittersweet about is that 73 citizens in Sweden that have left Turkey. Turkey wants to extradite them back to Turkey to take them to prison or have them be on trial, I'm guessing. Now, Sweden didn't say that all of them are going to go back, but they did say they're going to be involved in negotiations. But my guess is a lot of those will be extradited to Turkey. And that's one that's interesting as well, because knowing that I considered Erdogan to be a dictator, I do believe that Erdogan was a part of the revolution that he had going on in Turkey. If you remember that what happened 10 years ago, I believe he did that to take more power in the country. I believe he is a dictator. And that means that because I know what Erdogan, who he is, I do believe that there's a good chance that some of these people might be innocent, or are innocent in some cases, and maybe they're just political. They just speak bad about Erdogan, and he just wants those, and maybe they're a voice for those Kurdish people there, so they're not necessarily terrorists. They just don't like Erdogan. Maybe he wants to get rid of them, doesn't want them to have a voice and send them to prison. So that's interesting as well. So although it's great that Sweden gets to join NATO, and I'm still in support of Sweden joining NATO, and I understand that Sweden has to do what's best for Sweden, it's just kind of bittersweet and interesting. And it hasn't been talked a lot about in the media what Sweden had to necessarily do to be able to join NATO. And I would imagine that a lot of Swedish people kind of feel they're happy they're joining NATO, but I would imagine that most people would feel bittersweet about this. So I wanted to draw more attention on this, not to necessarily like bash Sweden. That's not what this is about. I'm not bashing Sweden. I'm just, because I think a lot of times in the news, it's important to see both sides and understand that, yes, this is a good thing for Sweden. It's a good thing for security of Europe probably for Sweden to join NATO. Although it adds fuel to the fire, it also helps to stabilize a few things, because Russia is probably not as likely to try anything right now because NATO just got stronger. NATO just got a powerful air force and a powerful army and a lot of resources and a lot of technology. So that's all great for NATO. It's great for Europe. But they had to work with Turkey. And it shows that there's a good chance that there can be more conflicts with Turkey in the future moving forward with NATO. And out of all the countries in NATO, I always feel that Turkey is probably the country that can most likely drag other nations into it. But I agree that NATO is better with Turkey, a part of it, than without, because then you always have the risk that Turkey being allied with Russia, and Turkey has quite a large military. And so it's better that we are working with Turkey, but we have to understand that we're dealing with a dictator. So these are all my opinions. I hope you guys like this one. And so if you're Swedish, I'm curious, like, what do you think about this? Let me then finally say, like, I'm just a guy on YouTube that reports the news. I do my best to research everything, but, you know, feel free to understand that I'm not perfect. I might not have everything perfect. This is a very complex issue, and I'm just giving my thoughts, trying to report on this, and understand that I might not get everything right. So, all right, guys, I'll see you guys in the next one. Hej då!